Hi guys, welcome back. This is Module 4 SEO or Search Engine Optimization. So this is all about Google, of course. I'm just talking about basic theme SEO. There's two components of SEO that I'll talk about throughout this training. And the first is just setting up your site and your theme so it's search engine friendly. And the second part is actually optimizing specific blog posts that you write, optimizing those for Google. But that part of it I'll get into later on. For this one, I'm just talking about the basic theme setup. So the first part is, and I'll just say before I start this that you can get as technical and detailed as you want with SEO, but I'm just sticking to the really simple things here, and I think these are the things that you will get the 80% results from. And you can, if you're a real search engine guru, then you can focus on the other 20%, but for most people who are just putting out a lot of content, I would focus on these things. So the first thing is making sure the theme generates headings for your post and titles that come from the names of your post. And I'll show you what that means at the end of this, at the end of these few points. But basically, any decent WordPress theme will do these, and will do this, and pretty much any other CMS should do it now these days as well. Having nice, clean code. If you've got a really old site with really bad code, then that can have an impact on your SEO. But again, if you've got a decent theme, then that shouldn't be a problem. Permalinks is WordPress's word for the URL of the page and how that's structured and how it looks both to Google and to humans. Other CMSs might call it something different. It might be just the page URL or something like that, but WordPress terminology is permalinks, and I'll show you how to set those up. Again, it's very simple. There's also a WordPress SEO plugin that we'll install here, but I won't talk too much about that until we get into the content side of SEO. Authorship is something I have to talk about now because this is going to be something that's really powerful. It already is really powerful, and this has to do with how you set up your WordPress site. So we have to talk about that now as we're setting up the site. So what I'll do now is I'll jump over to a bit of a demonstration. The first thing I'm going to demonstrate here is the H1 and the titles. So this is a small blog post I wrote, and I was optimizing it for the term financial performance metrics. Now, if I have a look at this post, you see the post is called Basic Financial Performance Metrics for Business. And sometimes you might call it the exact same keyword, but more often than not, it doesn't really make sense to do that. So I would also always just make sure the keyword is in there. So with the H1 tag, basically you want to make sure that your website is actually printing out a H1 tag. And what I do to make sure that is just to go view page source. Sorry, I just hit info, but if I go view page source, okay, and just make sure you've got the H1 tag there with the title of the post you've written. And sometimes you'll have H2 for subheadings as well, which is also useful. In this particular post, I don't have subheadings that I'm optimizing. So that's H1, and so when I actually go in and write that post, you'll see I've called it Basic Financial Performance Metrics for Business. And if I mouse over this tab up here, you can see the title of the page is Financial Performance Metrics for Business. And so you know that the title has your keyword in it, and there's a H1 tag with your keyword in it, and it's written there on the page. We'll get into more about this later, but as long as the theme is set up more or less to do that, then Google's going to know which keywords are important on that page. Now, permalinks in WordPress, if you go to Settings, Permalinks, you'll notice on this page here, Financial Performance Metrics for Business, you'll see the actual URL of the page is Basic Financial Performance Metrics. And so you want to make sure that the URL of your page includes your keyword, which is Financial Performance Metrics. And you do that by going, as a one-off, going under Settings and Permalinks. I'll just wait for that to load. Okay, and now what you'll see in here, if I just had the default selected there, my page would be called inform.loi/?P123, and you don't want that because Google doesn't know what that is. So what I've got in there is just, I think I just had the name, which was just post name. That's easy enough to do, post name, or you can do more complicated ones like the category name and the post name. But if it's just post name, all that means is when you create a new post and you'll call it, Basic Financial Performance Metrics, then this URL actually comes from that title. And when you create the post, you can actually change that. So I'll just go in here and I'll show you how to do that. But the default is like the best case scenario is all you do is you go in and create a blog post and the website does the rest for you. So the other stuff is just a small benefit to be able to do. So in this example here, I've just edited that so it's basic financial performance metrics, and I may even choose to just call it financial performance metrics, so it's just my keyword. But the main fundamental thing is that you've got the permalinks set up so that it will automatically pick up the name of the post. Now I'll go into the YOAST WordPress SEO. So in WordPress, if you click on plugins and go add new, and I've actually already got it installed in here, but I'll run you through the process of adding it in anyway. So if you just search for the YOAST WordPress SEO plugin, okay, and that's it there, WordPress SEO by YOAST, and you can just click the install now button, and I'd always make sure you back your website up before you start installing plugins, just to be safe. But I've actually already got it installed, so if you go down the bottom, you've got this SEO button here. I don't do too much of a setup with the YOAST SEO plugin. I normally just use it for basic stuff and actually configuring the blog post itself, and I won't go into the detail of doing that at the moment because we'll do that when we start talking about the on-site content. But just make sure YOAST is installed, run through the settings and have a look at what it can do, and you can link up Webmaster Tools, that kind of thing. Again, this is not absolutely necessary. The main benefit for me of YOAST is actually using it when you create a blog post itself. Now, one more concept we have to talk about is authorship. So the best way to deal with this is go into Google and type in Google Authorship, and you'll find this page here which explains how you set it up. Now, what might be handy is if I actually show you what it looks like before. I just have to remember the name of that. It was financial performance metrics. So if I search for that keyword, this is what I optimized my blog for. See how my photo is shown there? If someone was to search for this keyword and look at that front page of Google and see one post with a photo, they're much more likely to click on this post. And I've heard examples of the third or the fourth result outperforming the first result for that keyword. And I think in this case, I would be much likely to click on that with a photo of someone than click on this PDF or click on this government site. So that's what Google Authorship is. Setting it up is quite simple. They've made it a lot simpler than it used to be. Go into Google, type in Google Authorship, and you'll find this page here. And this tells you the exact things you need to do. The first thing you need to do is have a profile photo with a recognizable headshot. Now, WordPress will do this. WordPress uses Gravatar, so hopefully you've already got a Gravatar set up already. But if you go to gravatar.com and just sign up with your email address and make sure you've got a nice profile picture of you in there, and then a whole bunch of sites, whenever you use that email address, will automatically use that image. And in WordPress, it will do it as well. So the first step is making sure you have a profile picture. I would just use Gravatar for that. But if you go in here, click on your profile, and it will pick up your email address and use that image as your profile picture. And the other thing you'll notice is on all of my blog posts, actually I'll just go back to here. So this has got your name. Make sure your first name and your last name are filled in. And this is the email address here. Make sure this is the email address that you use in your Google profile and you use on Gravatar. And I normally put links to my Google profile and social media and stuff in the footer there as well. So I will go back here and show you one more thing. So if you look down the bottom of this post, here it is. Hi, I'm Dan Norris, founder of Informly. And then that's got my image there, and it's also got a link off to Google+. So go back to here. So we want to have a profile picture with a recognizable headshot. So I've got that already. It's the same image that I'm using on Google+. You want to have a byline that has your name. I've shown you that in the footer. You might have something simpler than that, but as long as it's just got your name there. And it's got to obviously match your exact name on Google+. And then, assuming you're using the email of your domain, so mine's just dan@inform.ly, and I would put my email in here, .ly, and I'll go sign up for authorship. And Google does the rest. Usually it takes a couple of days. I guess it depends on the system they're using. It used to be a lot more complicated than this, but that's how it works. And I don't think they notify you. I think you will just notice that sometimes your name will turn up in the search engine results. And the best way to do it is to take an exact title of your post and copy it and go into a new incognito window in your browser, which means it's not going to be personalized. So if you're using Chrome, I just go Control-Shift-N for new, and I'll search for that exact keyword. So you know it's going to find your post, and you'll see the image there. So I'd leave it a couple of days before and just make sure that's working, because you'll get a much better click-through. And down the track, Google's going to use this authorship for a lot more things, so definitely set up that authorship. Okay, so that's it for the SEO module. There's a lot I could cover with SEO, but that's enough for a basic theme and website setup. And I mean, it's always worth getting a web developer just to check over it, and getting someone who knows about SEO to check that everything's set up correctly. And then we'll talk more about how to optimize an individual page when we get into that content section. Okay, see you guys in the next video.